emergency pod edition. There's too much content going on right now that I couldn't not jump in. I'm like the guy. I'm like spoiler Santa Claus in Christmas with the Cranks, right? He's at the Christmas party. It starts to snow. He's selling umbrellas. He's like, look, man, it's good for business. I can't pass it up. I can't pass this up. Doesn't mean we're not coming back on Friday. We are, but emergency pod for all the things going on. And chief among them is Run DMV. Because it's fascinating. It's interesting. It's so strange to me. And here's why. Why are we focused on Nick? He wants to lead the team because he didn't feel like he was getting good conversation from his head coach. Other players have left for similar reasons, but we're vilifying him? Look, transparency. I spoke with Nick this morning. I asked him, why are we leaving? What's going on? He said he didn't want to leave, which I believe, and it was the lack of communication in general is what ultimately dissuaded him. This wasn't a player coming in and saying, oh, I don't like that scheme that you're claiming to run. It wasn't that. It wasn't, oh, well, you've got to tell me who you're recruiting so that I can approve or deny them. It wasn't that. This wasn't, Nick GM Hugo. It was just the fact that he wasn't having conversations consistently between coach and player. And from what I've been told from Nick and from other people that are close to the situation, it's been a very consistent thread, which is why I believe it, is that in the locker rooms, directly to players, the conversation is not there. Now, is it crazy to think that a coach should be talking to his team regularly? And is it crazy that a player would be bothered by that? I wouldn't say it is. Who are the respected coaches in this league? Right? Skinny, Drees, Drayton, Coach Pope, Coach Bellardi. I'm going to miss some, but what do they all have in common? They're all increasingly engaged with their team. Who among them has seen a notable player leave? And Bay Area, I'm taking off the list because Royce Anderson and Dime Hardaway didn't leave because of a lack of engagement. They left because Coach Pope did such a great job recruiting. His team was too good. Too much talent. The guys couldn't shine, which makes sense. And here's the thing. It'd be easy to point this as, look, Hugo's a diva, right? Look at him. New coach comes in. He doesn't like it. He wants out right away. That's just not the case. First off, Nick contemplated leaving before Coach Banks even arrived. He thought about leaving then. He decided, hey, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to see what this looks like. First, that's a sign of maturity. Second thing, he's been completely uncommunicative in the public feed. He's not engaging in back and forth. He's not dragging himself into this. Far from it. He has been quiet. That's a good thing. The specifics of his concerns, he's not out here saying, well, look, it was kind of because I wanted to be the star, and he said I wouldn't be, and well, kind of all this other stuff. He's very specific. If you have complaints and they're honest, you stick to them. You ever been in an argument with someone? You ever debated with somebody? They stick to the same talking points time and time again. That's what Hugo's done. He has a talking point. The lack of communication between myself and the coach. That's a good thing. And I asked him, did you ever tell the coach, hey man, I'm thinking of leaving? And he admitted he didn't. Why is that a good thing? Because he's obvious enough to the situation to say, here's where I went wrong. And a player that was too into themselves, too much of a diva would say, nah, I didn't tell him that. He should have just been out here recruiting me already. No, he's saying, look, I could have done better. Who else did that? Coach Laster. That's why people have respect for Coach Laster. He said, look, the way I handled it was wrong. Internally, with my team, I did not handle it the way I should have. It takes a grown man to admit to their shortcomings in a situation. And in that situation, Nick Hugo admitted to it. That shows maturity, and that's something that we wouldn't expect to see from someone who's just trying to get their way, pout around, and quit. Look, I'm not saying the coaches should have to be always talking to their players, but I kind of think they should be. I don't think that's a hot take. Yeah, you should be able to recruit guys, and no, you don't need the confirmation from your team to say, yeah, we like that guy, but you're not even telling people who you're recruiting, because guess what? I do know that Mardon was on the list for Run DMV, that he had had conversations with Coach Banks about potentially going there. Guess who didn't know that? Nick Hugo. You would think you would tell, hey, best player on my team who had a dominant season, was a back-to-back player of the week, the only player in SimWorld Hoops history to do that. Hey, Nick, we're trying to get Mar Don. Why don't you reach out to him? See if maybe you can convince him. Well, Mar's off the table. He's going to Lone Star. He's going to be a great piece for them. He's a tenacious defender, extremely athletic guard. You didn't even keep your guys in the loop because that helps with recruiting. It helps bring those guys in. I don't know who else Coach Banks is recruiting, but if you're not using your best asset, which is Nick Hugo, to recruit, you're doing something wrong. Also, Rick, the Hugo rule? Hugo? Come on. Why Nick Hugo? What about Cole Webb? Right? This is no discredit to Cole Webb, but he's leaving the freaking continent of Australia to play elsewhere. No vitriol, no concern. What about Arthur Lattimore? Played in Seattle last season. We didn't care. Corey Pope, he plays for a team that's in Los Angeles. We're good. That doesn't bother us. Royce Anderson played in California. Gabe Pope, he's from Puerto Rico. Guess where he plays? Tennessee. Guess who's from Tennessee and doesn't play in Tennessee? Justin Bell. But it's Nick Hugo. It's the Hugo rule. Let's put this out right now. Nick's not even leaving the region. Breaking news. Perk your ears up. We're burying the lead, so you got to listen. Nick Hugo to Queen City Kings. Confirmed. It's not speculation. Confirmed. Nick Hugo is going to Queen City Kings. That's in his region. So the kid didn't even leave his own region. Yeah, we want to call it a Hugo rule. Because changed teams? So enough of the martyring of Nick Hugo. He wanted out for an acceptable reason. And yeah, he's a big name. Sure, there's going to be a magnifying glass on it. Sure, people are going to pay attention. But when King Arthur made it known he was leaving, how do we react? We had coaches publicly saying or insinuating that other coaches may backtrack on their commitments now that King Arthur was available. Why is this different? Because there was a coach in place at Run DMV and there wasn't up in Cascadia? Wasn't a coach that just walked out the door? That shouldn't matter. If a coach can't have the decency to communicate with his own team, and I don't know what he's going to say on Sunday, but I can tell you right now, from everything I know, I believe it. And he can go out, he can say what he says on Sunday. I'm going to be fascinated with it, and I'll reach out to him. But to put this all on Nick Hugo is a fool's errand and absolutely wrongly placed. And hey, Queen City Kings, they're going to look good. Talk to you Friday.